This is a new segment where I do a deeper dive. This was gonna be its own video, but unfortunately I got scooped by Ludwig, who took my thumbnail and title but didn't do the same video. I want to talk to you. This is both a win and a fail. This is like a new segment. It's a win and fail combined ultimate deep dive. This is about FaZe Clan. I want to talk about FaZe Clan. Now, if you guys don't know, Ludwig did a video called FaZe Clan is going bankrupt, and then he talked about a FaZe Clan show that's not doing well, which is an interesting subject. It's an interesting subject, but it's not have anything to do with the real story here, which is that FaZe Clan might actually be going bankrupt. Let's talk about it. But first, let me tell you the story. So let's give a win in the past. I don't know if you guys remember. Late last year, FaZe Clan announced the following. They were going public at a $1 billion valuation, and their board of directors would include Snoop Dogg. They were gonna be the first billion-dollar esports company. They were gonna be publicly listed on the NASDAQ. You could go into your app and trade FaZe stock. That was the plan. That was the plan they announced late last year. They were gonna do a thing called a SPAC because taking a private company public, especially one that's not really well established like FaZe, is actually a very long, slow, expensive process. But for a while, during the 2020s and 2021 years, there was this tool called a SPAC, a Special Purpose Acquisition Corporation, which is where a company is already listed and they just merge with you and then you take the name. So it would be a boring company called B. Riley Principal 150 Merger Corp. This company's already listed publicly. So they just merge with FaZe Clan and become FaZe Clan. And that way you can skip all the red tape and instantly go public. And that was their roundabout way using SPACs to go public. And SPACs had a big boom last year. A bunch of companies were skipping the process, going public, making a bunch of money from investors who thought stocks only went up. Right about now in 2022, the story is different. SPACs are basically all imploding. Almost every SPAC that went public in the past 2 years is down 80, 90%, and everyone that invested in them lost money. So nobody wants to do it again. So instead of being public right now like they said they'd be, in fact, things are much more dire. They were valued at $1 billion. They had a bunch of articles. They had a bunch of publishing. They were valued at $1 billion. These are all the news articles that went out. Unfortunately, none of it turned out to be true. So now they had to release a financial forecast because they weren't public in time. And the financial forecast is much, much darker than they originally promised. They still have income. They don't actually make money because they spend more than they make. They made, I think, around something like $50 million income, $52 million in revenue, which was awesome. But unfortunately, they actually recorded a loss of $28 million. So they spent about $80 million. They made $50 million, but for some reason spent 80. I don't know what FaZe Clan is spending $80 million on, but they are losing money. And so naturally, a company that only makes $50 million in revenue and then loses $80 million on that is not a business worth $1 billion. I know in 2021 that'd be a crazy thing to say, but I think in 2022 we can say that a company that doesn't even make that much money and then loses all of it and more is not a billion-dollar business that everyone wants to buy stock in. It's not a and so this financial update has really cast doubts on their ability to get the deal through, which is bad because they were relying on some of the cash that was in that boring company. When they merged, they get the cash that's in the boring company. And that boring company had like $70 million in cash reserves they were going to get access to when they acquired. Instead, they're not going to get that. It means they cannot pay their bills, which means they're at very real risk of actual bankruptcy. Unless they acquire new funding soon, they can't continue to lose millions of dollars a month and not get this merger. FaZe Clan, while they still have they have sponsorship income, and if they were able to cut costs, they could survive. But if they don't cut costs and they don't find new funding, FaZe Clan will actually go bankrupt. They are on the way to doing that very quickly because of this deal falling through, unless they find a way to do it. Now, even if the deal goes through, there is no shot it's worth $1 billion. Even at their crazy, outlandish numbers, even if using their extreme expectations, it's still valued only at $650 million now. So they've lost $400 million in values, even on their crazy expectations. So there's just no way that story about them becoming the first billion-dollar esports company is anywhere close to true. And if this deal doesn't go through at all, it may just be bankrupt. They just be gone. The big question here is, what are they spending the money on? How are they spending $80 million? And I looked into it, and there's a lot of stuff. I mean, they're spending on the FaZe house. They have expensive rent. They have expensive talent agreements. But one thing that was very interesting to me is that they have extremely high executive compensation. Their CEO gets paid $1.38 million, which is a big chunk of what the company makes. That's a very, very high high salary for a CEO. That is more salary than like many bigger company CEOs. It's actually it's very high for the size of company they are. And more crazily, they hired a chief strategy officer named Kai Henry, who makes a whopping $3 million in salary per year. There's 3 times more than CEO. And I was like, who the hell is their chief strategy officer? Kai Henry. I've never heard of this guy. How important could this guy be that he gets paid $3 million in salary? So I looked up Kai Henry, and what do I see but a Bored Ape profile picture on Instagram? It all comes full circle. It all comes back. This guy with 7,818 followers is apparently worth $3 million a year to FaZe, a company that is losing money hand over fist. What exactly is going on? But at least they got Snoop though. So I'm interested. And I will be following up on this story of FaZe Clan's possible implosion. But let's just say all things are not phased up over there. Some things are phased down, like their revenue, like their profit, like their chances of survival. And we'll have to see. But anyway, that's my mini deep dive on the world of FaZe. I did do some looking at their balance sheet, and it is a shocking story. And I would not recommend investing if they keep it above that. I'm gonna walk for a bit.